Hassan has officially responded to his 24-hour suspension, something he likes to refer to as being deplatformed, which is certainly not a very good use of that word, and it's just like pretty funny that he thinks it is. But let's see what he has to say here.
If you're watching this, that means I just got banned. As in, I got a temporary 24-hour suspension. And we're back together on this deep, up-close, and personal YouTube video. Welcome back to the Hassan channel on YouTube. Now, some of you are probably wondering, considering that there's a lot of back and forth going on online about why I got banned once again. Well, you might have actually heard the truth. I got banned specifically because I covered the motives of the Israeli embassy staff shooter, which apparently, according to Twitch terms of service, dictates a suspension, even if I critically examined the manifesto, which is...
Didn't Bro refer to the shooter as someone who was genuine, but a little brain broken? It's like the most watered down thing you could possibly say about the guy. Like really trying not to say anything bad about him at all. And then being like, hey, this really looks like a false flag, but it's not, guys. It's definitely not. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But you know what else is really funny? Hassan's out here addressing this whole thing, trying to make himself seem like a victim of this temporary suspension, this banning. But it's like a 24-hour suspension on a day he apparently doesn't even stream anyways, usually. In other words, like realistically, the actions against him by Twitch were almost non-existent. And it just makes him and Twitch look even worse, makes Twitch look even more desperate and more biased. But of course, Hassan's going to try and address this as if something really terrible happened to him, guys. Big victim here.
The reason why I read this is specifically so that you understand that like there is a shit ton of people that are like, no, this is the shooter's actions were directly about finding some Jewish victim to kill. Okay, it's deliberate. It's clear what his reasoning is. You don't have to agree with what he did, and I'm not urging you to. Okay, I'm not saying that at all, but it is deliberate. Ask yourself why the media is not saying that the shooter did this because they were distraught with the violence that they had seen unfolded in Gaza. And the reason why I had critically examined the manifesto of the Israeli embassy staff shooter.
I love how he actually says critically examined, but it just comes off like he's trying to sympathize with the guy and like kind of reduce what he did. Trying to like minimize what the guy actually did. It reminds me of how you'll often see people online accusing others of not thinking critically, and or these people try and flaunt their own alleged critical thinking, but oftentimes the people who do such things are in fact those who lack critical thinking the most, at least from what I've seen.
Because there was a lot of misinformation taking place, as is the case usually online whenever there's a breaking news story. This is what I do. A big part of what I do is holding people's hands through the news media process by allowing them to think critically and helping them understand media literacy.
Sorry for the awkward pausing there at the end. I was already moving my mouse to pause when he said critical thinking, because I was thinking like, bro, that just made everything I said a minute ago age so well. But then he took it even further and added the media literacy part. This is especially funny because everything I said a moment ago about critical thinking also applies to people who often accuse others of having no media literacy. This is another similar thing that you see happening online, often from the same sort of people. And now I'm putting two and two together. Maybe those sort of people are Hassan viewers who tend to do that. I say that in slight jest. It's probably not a 100% crossover. There is probably some crossover there, just not 100%. At the very least, though, they do tend to share the same kinds of rhetoric. Now, I don't have any issue with critical thinking and or media literacy in of themselves. The issue is, as I mentioned, that oftentimes the people who tend to accuse others online of lacking such things the most frequently are in fact the ones who lack such things themselves. And it comes back to something we see very often online, which is projection.
This is precisely why I was covering the manifesto that my friend Ken Klippenstein was able to find and release. Another friend of mine, Eric Toller of the New York Times Visual Investigation Unit, had also uncovered the manifesto of the shooter around the same exact time, and he had also released it on his Twitter page. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because oftentimes when instances like this happens, the media will take bits and pieces of a manifesto to create a framework around the motive. But in this circumstance, the media actually was quite quiet about the manifesto in and of itself. And I think that's newsworthy, but that's not the story here.
Well, look, I'm not going to defend the media. I do think they do a lot wrong. But I also don't think Hassan is this great arbiter of the truth that he's trying to make himself seem like. He's basically doing the same thing that the news does in trying to present information in a way where he can influence the people who watch him in the way that he wants, in the direction that he wants, basically doing what the media does, but with his own slant, on his Twitch channel. He then goes on to mention various other manifestos that he had covered previously, saying, why was it different this time? Why is this the one that I got in trouble for? But if anything, it just makes Twitch look even worse, makes them all look even more biased, because it seems like they selectively didn't enforce their moderation policies on him before, when they had apparently gone after other people for the exact same things and gave them much harsher bans. But for Hasan, it was 0 up until this most recent one a few days ago.
Why was this different? Why was this a big deal? I'm covering all of these different manifestos on stream, and I've never been banned for it. Well, I believe why this was actually a little bit different is because there was a lot of outside pressure in the immediate aftermath of this shooting. The ADL, Apartheid Defamation League's very own Jonathan Greenblatt, went on CNN only hours after the shooting had taken place to make incredibly slanderous statements about me, stating that I was responsible for this. My rhetoric was responsible for this. Let's take a look.
All of us need to call it out. I'm thinking about the New York Times doing a gauzy profile a few weeks ago of this gamer, Hassan Piker, who regularly employs awful genocidal rhetoric against Jewish people in the Jewish state.
This is slander through and through. I do not apply awful genocidal language towards Jewish people.
Many people would disagree with that, but at the very least, it does seem odd to call this guy a gamer. Like, Hassan's not a gamer, dude. I don't even think this guy likes video games. All right, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit now to where he addresses the infamous clip of... Sorry, I couldn't help but laugh. It's the false flag clip, though. You're probably familiar with it. If not, you're going to see it in just a second. And spoiler alert, he does then show like some other accounts on Twitter that were retweeting that clip and then saying things about it. For the record, just know already, I don't care about any of those people. Some of them are like in the media and all that. I don't care about these journalists and these media people. To me, I have zero respect for them, and they're like irrelevant. They don't matter, to me at least. So I don't care about what they have to say about Hassan. All I care about is what Hassan said in the clip with his own words. And to me, that is already bad enough. I think, yeah, that speaks volumes.
Let's take a look at that 37-second video.
But like I'm not Mr. False Flag at all, but like every single thing that he did in the aftermath of the shooting is so fucking crazy that it's like you could not have fucking designed a incident like this. You could not have designed a better false flag incident like this. I'm not saying it is a false flag incident at all. I'm not saying that. I think this is just a one dude who is genuine in his actions and maybe, you know, a little bit brain broken. Okay.
Most people that retweeted this didn't even actually watch the video to see whether or not it actually matched up with what this person was saying. Now, why am I talking about this random account? It only got 6,000 likes. I retweeted. I said a fascinating phenomenon nowadays is watching people clip things in context that I'm saying and then turn around and simply claim that I'm saying the opposite of what I'm saying in the clip. This is a 37 seconds long video, and this dumbass lied about everything. Why am I bringing this up? Great question. It's because the clip formulated by this account, which stated, Hasan Piker, star of Amazon's Twitch, says the attack sure looks like a perfect false flag. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The guy was genuine with his actions. How fucking absolutely gross is it that this is currently being streamed right now to 40,000 people? Then it turned into this. Hasan Piker, hailed by the New York Times, the future of progressivism, tells his audience that the DC attack might have been a false flag. And yet, here is Jake Tapper retweeting this. So I guess Jake Tapper, one of the most important members of the media, who just came out with a book talking about how the media narratives did not match up with what the people were seeing in terms of Joe Biden's senility, is still doing ridiculous things like this. It doesn't make any sense.
So like I already said, I have no respect for these journalists anyways. But it's interesting because Hassan, according to my recollection, had previously like praised journalists and the media, acting like they're still like very esteemed individuals. Probably not the ones he's criticizing, but like in general, the ones he agrees with, he'll try and make them seem like these are very respectable, prestigious people. And it's just kind of funny. In my opinion, it just makes him look out of touch, which is also funny in particular because he has had like actual crash outs over being called out of touch before. And it's like, bro, you are.
All of that pressure inevitably led to Twitch taking this action. I had covered manifestos in the past on my broadcast. None of those manifestos actually met the same level of scrutiny. This one did. And I don't believe this one did exclusively because it was about Israel. I think this manifesto was simply used as an opportunity to try to get me banned by gaming the terms of service. I did not think I was going to get suspended, but I'll take it.
Reminds me of the jokes people were making on Twitter when people were responding to his post about getting banned, and he was like, "I'll take it." And it's like, bro, like you'll take it. What do you mean? Like, can you just message Twitch and get unbanned? Like, maybe it's just a figure of speech, but it does come off pretty funny given the history of Twitch's very biased moderation policies, especially towards this guy, Hassan. And we already addressed this earlier in the video. It just makes them all look even worse because according to their own terms of service, he should have had action taken against him, moderation action taken against him by Twitch, given their own policies on these prior examples of him covering other manifestos, etc., but they didn't. So even if he only did this time because of additional pressure, it still doesn't excuse how they were like choosing to not enforce their policies against him in the past, as mentioned earlier in the video too, especially when they've enforced those policies on other people. But hey, not Hassan, right? Hey, Hassan, isn't there a word for that? I think it's called privilege.
Is insurmountable. Too many people know exactly what's going on, and as fascist ideology is a suicide cult, it seems like Israel is bringing the rest of the Western leadership down with it. As I say here, every day that goes by, more and more people realize the truth. The very same institutions that spent countless hours defending and contextualizing Israel's genocide will now change their tune. Try and deplatform me all you like, but you can't change what people have seen. One day, everyone will behave as though they were always against this. I'm Hasan Piker. I hope you can keep supporting me and watching me on YouTube, because even if I get deplatformed from Twitch completely, I will still find a way. And even if I am deplatformed entirely from every single website, the truth will still come out. On that note, see you on Monday.
Anyways, yeah, really difficult time for Hassan. You know, man, these deplatforming attempts, horrifying stuff. It's got to be terrifying for the guy who has Twitch and all these corpos at Amazon apparently having his back, you know, very difficult stuff indeed. But let me know what you think about his official response. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one.